All right, everyone, welcome to the last session of the day. You're in room B for successful Zoom meeting lectures with Dr. Kenneth White.
All right, could you put me on main video? All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to my lecture. I'm Ken White, and today I'm going to be talking about how to do a successful Zoom lecture. And I'll ask Jen now to put on my presentation. And today what I'll be talking about is successful Zoom meeting lectures. This summer I taught Chem 1211 here at COD, and I did it out of COD North, which is my office in Schaumburg, and it went quite well. And I'd like to pass along some of the things I learned. Now, one of the problems, or what I'll be, oops, skip one, let me go back. Today, what I'll be talking about is, first of all, we're not in Zoom, so how can I show you some of the positive things of Zoom? Well, I made a video in Zoom, and we'll be showing you that in a little while. I'll also be talking about what you should set up when you're setting up a Zoom meeting. I'll also talk about important equipment recommendations. I'll talk about pre-Zoom meeting setup. In other words, right before your meeting, what should you be doing? I'll talk about key things during your Zoom meeting lecture. And then also I'll talk about main keys to success. And finally, if you record your Zoom meeting, which I did for every one of mine, what's the best way to post it so your students can see that? And with that, I'll ask Jen to start the video. So enjoy. Hi, my name is Dr. White, and I'd like to talk to you today about gases. We're surrounded by gases, you call that air, and gases, there are various things you can measure. You can measure the pressure, you know that as barometric pressure. You can measure the volume of a gas, how much there is. You can measure the temperature, how cold or hot is the gas. You know it as the outside temperature in the weather forecast. And finally, you can measure an amount. In chemistry, one way of measuring the amount we call moles. Now, it turns out all those things you can measure, they're mathematical relationships, which we call the gas laws. And my favorite gas law is the ideal gas law. Let's take a look at that. And the ideal gas law, as you see on your screen, is PV equal nRT. Now, P is pressure, V is volume, N is the number of moles, T is temperature, and R is the universal gas law constant. Now, it turns out PV equal nRT plays an important role in your daily life. Where's one place? Your car tires. Let's take a look at that. And if we look at the screen, PV equals nRT, the ideal gas law. Now, in the ideal gas law, in your tires, V never changes, the amount, the moles never change, and the universal gas law constant doesn't change either. What can change is the temperature and the pressure. And in the winter, what happens? It gets cold and the temperature goes down. So if we look at PV equal nRT, volume, moles, universal gas law constant don't change. Temperature changes and it goes way down. And what happens in your tires when that happens? The pressure in your tires go way down. So in the winter, PV equal nRT, the ideal gas law tells you temperature goes down, you better check your car, your tire pressure, because that's going to go way down. And with that, I'm going to send you back to my in-service presentation. All right, Jen, can you put on my talk again, please? Did we lose Jen? There we go.
Sorry about that.
Nothing to be sorry about. All right, now, how did I pull off that video? That video was an actual video of a Zoom presentation that I made for this presentation. Now, how did I do that? First of all, when you're going to do a Zoom lecture, you have to set up your meeting using their interface. And you put in a title. Like this summer, I had Chem 1211 Lecture and Lab. Now, the next thing you have to do is the date range. And if you have a repeating lectures, put in for every day, because it's funky if they say every second day. It's not like Tuesday, Thursday, next week, Tuesday, Thursday. Now, this is something very important. When you're setting up the date range right here, if you do it today or like in this week, you'll find you can only set it up to October. And when you reach that end date, that meeting session goes away. Same thing with the URL for that. And it's important, and I now have a post-it on my bathroom mirror, tell me October, I think it's 10th, extend the date. So that's an important thing to remember. Another thing to remember is mute all your attendance. You can do that when you're setting up the meeting for the whole semester, the whole date range, because if you don't, people are going to be coming in. If they have kids in their room coming in and out, you'll have that as background noise. If you have people with their husband walking by asking a question, whatever, mute it. Now, next thing, and notice I have it in large caps, is set a password. Last April or end of March, when we all transitioned over emergency to Zoom, I had heard a little about Zoom bombing, and I figured they're not going to do a chemistry class. Next class, I got Zoom bombed. Luckily, I knew all the names of my students, and I was able to kick the students out, or the people out who were Zoom bombing. After about 2 minutes, they left because they realized I could kick them out faster than they could get in, or just as fast. But after that, I set a password. And since then, I've never had a problem with Zoom bombing. And part of that is, or mainly, I had a password. Now, another thing is I recorded all my meetings. And at first, last April, I said, oh, I'll turn it on when I get in. I forgot to do that a couple of times. When you're setting up your meetings, set auto record on. Makes your life easier. I don't know about the permanent URL, but this worked. What I'm showing you today worked for me all summer. Now, I'd like to make some important equipment recommendations. When you're doing your Zoom meeting, you're going to use your mouse more than you ever have before in a lecture room. And I had a Microsoft mouse, or have been using it. I was looking for a better one. I did search and also talk to some people. And I purchased this beginning of summer, and I hopefully pronouncing it correctly, Death Adler Elite. You can get them from many places. Amazon is one. By the way, I don't get any kickbacks from Amazon. I wish I could, but I don't. But it's about $40, and it's the best mouse I ever have. The controls you can set with it and everything else is just amazing. Now, when you're lecturing, if you have things you write on the whiteboard, like if you were in the lecture room at COD, when I lecture, I spend about half my time in a lecture on the whiteboard. Well, when we switched over, I got a small little hand-sized whiteboard to show my students. It worked, but it was a real pain. I found out from another instructor I teach at Elgin Community College also, someone at ECC told me about the Huion 1060 Plus graphic drawing tablet. And this tablet is not expensive. You can get it for about $80 from Amazon and also from other places. And it's really good. And I just saw someone I know at ECC, we got reimbursed for hardware, but I think here too, but I'm not going to, you'd have to ask your dean on that. And this made my life so much easier, and I used it all summer. Now, the other thing that's quite important is having a good webcam. Last March, when we transitioned over, I had an old Microsoft webcam, and it sort of worked. Really, it wasn't that good. Luckily, my best friend who lives in Indiana, I was talking to him, he says, well, I got an extra webcam I'll send you. And I was using this summer an older but quite good HP web camera. I was lucky enough about 2 weeks ago to finally get in a Logitech I think I have either a C920 or 922. I paid a little more through Amazon. I've been giving Amazon a lot of business, but it made my life easier. The Logitech, and this thing is really superb. So a good webcam. Now, what I don't have on there, but I assume you should hopefully be able to get, is good internet service. I have very good one where I live. Now, before you start your actual Zoom lecture meeting, here are some things I found you should do. Open all the files that you're going to use in your Zoom meeting. If you're going to use your MS Word lecture files, all my file lecture slides, MS Word, even though I've done more PowerPoints in my life than I like to remember. But anyways, have that open. If you're going to use a spreadsheet, have that open. If you're going to do stuff and look at a web page on the internet, have that in your toolbar at the bottom. If you're using a PC or Mac, open. Because if you're going to start looking for a file during a lecture, Murphy's law will kick in and you're going to have a hard time following it. Now, I have found that use lecture slides in either MS Word or PowerPoint, and really I like Word better, because if you're going to use a tablet, you can write on your Word slides. You don't have to save it. Unlike in a classroom, you're not going to write on the screen. Some people I see have, but in the past, but you shouldn't. But when you're using a Zoom meeting with these files, you can. With a PDF file, it's really hard to write on those. Now, another thing, if you're using the tablet, instead of using the whiteboard they give you, what I found that works real good, and you saw that in my presentation, and that is use a blank MS Word document as your whiteboard. If you're not familiar with it, if you do Control-Enter in Word, you'll get extra blank pages. And I have a file that has about 9 or 10 blank pages, and you start on page 1. Instead of taking time erasing up from what's on the screen, you just scroll down. Now, another important thing is adjust your room's lighting. If you don't have the right lighting, your picture doesn't look good. And I found having both lighting in front of me and behind me, and when I get full screen again, you'll see my picture looks in my office quite good. The lighting, play around with in your room or wherever you're going to give your lecture. Now, the last one is important, at least I feel it is, and that is if you start your Zoom meeting 5 or 10 minutes earlier than when you have it listed as starting. Just like at COD, at least the way I taught, if I'm going to start at 9 o'clock, I don't show up at 9 o'clock and open the door and let the students in. I always got there 5-10 minutes earlier. And that way also you can talk to some of the students and gain some rapport with them. So start your Zoom meeting early. Now, when you're actually giving your Zoom meeting or lecture, you can pin your video so that's always the center one that the students see when you're talking. Now, in Zoom, you can switch between your video and files you want to share. And I switch back and forth now and here and Collaborate. I'm not sure it's that easy. We try, if you came in about 3:25, you saw Jen and I were trying to figure out how to do that well. But in Zoom, it's quite easy to switch back and forth. That way, just like when you're in a classroom and you point out a slide and then you talk to the students and they look at you, you can do the same thing in a Zoom lecture. Now, in Zoom, you'll find out not all students have cameras and microphones, and they'll use the chat window to ask questions. Now, when you're in shared, you don't see that window. It doesn't pop up on your screen. You have to open a window and keep it minimized to see that. And that makes your life easier when you do that. Now, one major problem I found this summer in Zoom is that when you're going between different files, say a slide you're showing like this, maybe you have a spreadsheet you're going to do a calculation on or something on the internet, you think you switched and you really didn't. And students will say, I can't see what you're talking about. And you really can't tell in Zoom. It's a problem. If anybody knows anybody senior at Zoom that you can put me in touch with, I'd like to talk to them, tell them how they can fix that. I tried contacting them through their help dialog box, and they just never got back to me. But what I did come up with is when you're teaching, in the upper corner here, you can have some of the video feeds besides your own open. And I came up with what I call my thumbs up people. And I'd ask people when I switched and I wasn't sure that it worked, thumbs up people, can you see the slide on Zoom lecture time or the spreadsheet? And they'd give me on their video feed a thumbs up, or at the bottom of Zoom, there's a little button for emoji, thumbs up, and they would do that, and that helped me out. And that solved that problem, but that is a problem with Zoom, one of the few. Now, what are some of the main keys to success? The most important one is practice, practice, and practice again. As they say, practice makes perfect. The nice thing is COD has given us all accounts in Zoom. And anytime you want, you can go in and set a Zoom meeting, even if it's just for yourself, to practice. And you can set it up anytime you want to get on there to practice. Now, what should you practice? Practice talking into your webcam. I learned I had a habit of looking at my monitor watching me talk instead of looking up at the webcam. Practice that. Another one, practice switching between your shared files and your Zoom your video feed. And that gets you into practice of doing it when you're going to have to do it. Finally, if you're going to use a drawing tablet, and I highly, highly recommend you get one, practice using that. Now, initial practice, you can just do it on a Word file, practice the letters writing. In my case, doing formulas. I'll also be teaching at the other school organic chemistry, so drawing structures I've already practiced. And the more you practice, like in anything, the better you get at it. Now, the good thing about a Zoom meeting is you can videotape it. And you should videotape your practice session and look back at it and see how you did. You look at yourself and say, that didn't look so good, or that did look good. When I did the video you saw this earlier today, I checked it out. I actually did a second one because I didn't like the first one I did. And That's the advantage in Zoom. You can practice and videotape, and it helps you. Now, once you're through with your Zoom lecture, if you videotaped it, and I highly, thank you, Sam. But anyways, you have the ability to record your lectures. Now, as faculty here at COD, we all have now access to the Adobe Cloud. And I'm not going to go through how to get into that. If you have any questions, you can ask me or Learning Services. There's many people who can help you get on there. And in the Adobe Cloud, you now have free access to Adobe Premiere Pro, which is probably one of the best video editing software out there, unless you're a professional like TVs or movies, but for us, it's the best. It took me a couple hours to learn how to use this. I had a head start because not this spring, but last spring, I videotaped all my 1105 lectures at COD, and I put them on YouTube. And there, when I had to learn how to use Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, once you do that, you now have a video. Where do you put it? I found that YouTube is the best place. Now, if I pronounce it wrong, somebody correct me. Yuja or Yuya, however you want to pronounce it, I didn't like. I looked at it. YouTube is better. And it's also easier for the students. Now, this summer, I had lectures that on Monday and Wednesday went an hour and a half, on Tuesday, Thursday, an hour. And they're pretty long videos. YouTube normally allows you only 20 minutes. But if you do a phone verification, you can put up to 10-hour-long YouTube videos. Trust me, I hope I'll never have to do that, but you can do that long. And therefore, what you have to do is a phone verification on YouTube. Go to Google, type in YouTube phone verification or YouTube long videos. It takes about 2 minutes. They send you a code to your cell phone. You put it in, and then you have access to do that. Now, the important thing about putting your videos, lecture videos on YouTube or elsewhere, and I like YouTube, is your students can go back and look at them again, and they do. And this really helps them a lot. And I had a lot of students give me feedback, really thanking me for posting them. And I posted them within 24 hours of the lecture. I just got in the habit of doing that. For those of you who have to grade labs, you know, you don't let them slide for a long time. Same thing here, do it as quick as possible. Doing the video doesn't take that long. The upload, you don't have to be watching it while it's uploading it. I don't have it on the slide, but it's important to add the different tags to your video so students can find it. Now, if you'd like to see how successful I was at doing this, you can see on YouTube right now my complete summer Chem 1211 videos. I have this URL, but since I have the tags that I put in, if you go to YouTube, you can put in the YouTube search box, ChemE space 1211 space COD, and you'll get right to the video, my channel. I actually have a channel, ChemE 1211. I also have from last spring, not this earlier, but a year ago spring, I have a YouTube channel for my ChemE 1105 class. And those all help your students. So I definitely would go that way. And you can go and see how well I did there. And as the semester got further into semester, you can see I was doing better because I had more practice. By the way, my students this summer did great, half of them couldn't attend because they were working full time when I was giving them my actual live lectures on Zoom, and they watched the videos and it helped them. And I'd like to thank you all for listening to my presentation. And I'd like you all to thank Jen for doing a great job for setting this up. And now I'll stick around. I'm done. I'm going to let you all out early if you want to. But if anybody has any questions, I'm open for them. Also, when we're done with any questions, for those who want to stick around for the Animal House story, I'll tell you that too.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here, and thank you, Dr. Kenneth White, for the presentation. Briefly, I want to share, let's see, here we go. Before we get to the Animal House story. There we go. All right, here we go. I just want to show the what's going on tomorrow for everyone. The morning will take place in Zoom, so make sure you check the agenda and follow that link or call in. Starts at 9 o'clock, and that will be live from 9 until 11:15, and then breakout sessions in Collaborate again tomorrow starting at 12:30. So thank you, everyone.
Everybody's thanking me. Thank you. Someone just had a question that went through, let's see. Can I scroll back?
Lisa Higgins says, what did you mean when you said you'd pin your video feed and then move back and forth to you?
All right. When you're using Zoom, if you have a Zoom meeting, you see everybody's video on there on your screen. Say you had 24 students show up. You see 24 little screens. In Zoom, I'm doing this by memory, but I should be right. I did enough this summer. In your box, and Jen, do you see me on screen now?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
In your box in the upper right-hand corner, there are 3 little dots. You click on that, or as a moderator in the toolbar, there are different things you can do your video. And one of them is pin your video. That means if somebody else is talking, your video still stays center on the screen. And instead of having everybody switch back and forth, that allows their attention to be on you, and it just seems to be better. They can still see the other video feeds if they want, and you can minimize them and set them up. And these are things learning how to do it when you practice with Zoom. By the way, if you want to, and I did this once with someone, have someone else practice with you, have them as the student. And that helps you do things like this. But by pinning it, that keeps either you or what you're sharing, always in the center on their monitor. Or in my case, I've had students who are watching it on tablets. I had one student who worked as the EMT on a private ambulance. He was watching it in his ambulance when he wasn't making a run. And when he was, he could look at the video. In fact, one time he came to my office and, what's all that noise? Oh, I'm in my ambulance.
We've got another question. Did you have students use webcams or not in order to limit bandwidth use?
I made it optional this summer. I think one of the questions now going around, maybe it's not a question, is how do you eliminate cheating in a test? And that's proctoring by Zoom. And there, you need some sort of webcam or cell phone camera for that. But when I give a lecture, I would say if I had 18 students show up, about 6 or 7 would have the video feed on, the rest didn't. Either they didn't have a webcam or they just didn't want to be seen. And that didn't bother me because my lectures were to help them learn chemistry, and the final grade showed me they did.
Excellent. I think that's all of the questions. So,
So are you
Animal
ready for the
House.
animal? All right. Well, I told Janet earlier, I don't know how it came up. Oh, yeah, I said I have a fraternity house education, so I always have a comeback. That's part of being in our, at least my fraternity. Anyways, it was a great movie if you haven't seen it. Now I might be doing a generation gap called Animal House. And for those of you who are old enough to remember, before Second City, or not Second City, Saturday Night Live, there was a great thing in Chicago, and I think it's still running, called Second City. And my freshman year, I went to IIT, and I rushed one fraternity, or I was rushed by one fraternity that I joined. And that was the first year that they allowed the fraternities one event during rush week to take the rushies off campus. So where did our fraternity go? Second City. It was a Tuesday night, and Tuesday night, Second City had their show, which were little skits, which eventually became Saturday Night Live. And at the end of the show, they came out and asked some questions. And from the answers to those questions, they did impromptu after that. Well, Second City holds about 150 people in Chicago, and we brought about 100. So here you have 100 guys bent on getting drunk, and we did. But anyways, we were pretty rowdy, and here you have 100 guys drunk from a technical institute, and they asked, give a name of a book. Partial differential equations by so-and-so, organic chemistry by Morrison Boyd. And plus we were pretty rowdy. So they came and did their improv, and we had a good time. Who was there at Second City at that time? Belushi, Aykroyd, Radner, and I think a few of the other greats from the original Saturday Night Live. So anyways, we had a good time. Well, next year I'm now brother and the fraternity of Alpha Epsilon Pi, we're known as the Apes. We came back for, again, a rush event. Well, they were prepared for us because we had been so rowdy, even though they enjoyed it. And afterward, they came out and talked to us a little, but they were prepared for us. They gave a great show and they did their improv. And then before the improv, we have a couple more skits. And those skits cut us to heck. Our fraternity house, really good. And the next year we came back, and the fourth year I was there, we came back and I graduated. And about a year or so later, a friend of mine called me up and said, have you seen this movie? What movie? Animal House. No, what's it about? Fraternities. You were in a fraternity? I said, yeah, we had a wild time. So I went and saw it. And the first skit or first part of the movie, I'm looking at that and said, I've seen this before. And it was a skit about a blind guy or something, I forgot, whatever it was. But it was a skit they had done after the improvs to cut my fraternity up. And they had a few others in that movie that they had used. And it was called Animal House. We were known as the Apes. And I think one time when they came out, we told them about our toga parties, which theirs was about as wild as ours. But true story, a good part of Animal House is about Lambda Chapter Alpha Epsilon Pi. Now, Belushi played a guy, I forgot what was his name of his character, Bluto, I think it was. And yep, a great movie, who just commented. And we had a guy, his nickname was Yutz, who looked like Belushi. And I think Belushi, how should I say, pulled some of the inspiration for Bluto from Yutz. And that's my true Animal House story, which also shows you how long back I go in when I went to college.
Thank you for sharing that, Ken.
Well,
all right, I don't know if anybody has any other questions, but we have a little bit of time if anyone has anything, whether it's about fraternities, Animal House, improv, or using Zoom to teach.
Ideal gas law. I snuck in some chemistry.
Absolutely, which I appreciate. We've got the whole gamut covered. But I want to thank everybody, and another thank you to you, Ken. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Now, you might want to think of something as a follow-up that um, for you and the organizers that maybe have in a week or two, maybe chat sessions set up or just way for people to ask people questions.
That's a great idea. We actually had been planning on doing something, but it was based on this idea of sending out a survey to everybody, and we never got around to the survey. So I think, yeah, having like a sort of open sort of forum for people to share best practices and ask each other questions, I think there's a lot of value in that.
Because we did something like that, not organized like this, but at ECC in the chemistry, we got together for a Zoom Friday afternoon party. It was a BYO everything, your computer, your webcam, and your booze and your food. But anyways, and we had a good time sharing. That's where I learned about the tablet from one of the other faculty, and we shared different things. And that's when someone else set up at that meeting. I think it was Google. What is Google's interface called? Google Chat or something like that?
Oh, Hangouts?
Google Hangout. And we tried something like that, and it was horrendous.
Mm.
And at the time, COD just gave us Zoom, and I tested Zoom, and I said to everybody else, you should buy into Zoom or maybe, and eventually this summer, ECC finally did Zoom for everybody, and that's the way to go. Once you get the hang of Zoom, if you go and look at my videos for the summer, and you go look at my videos in the classroom for 1105 at that channel, and put it Chemi 1105 COD, and you can see me in an actual classroom. I asked students, and they gave me feedback that they felt online I was giving them the same experience that they would get in a classroom, which meant I was doing well, and Zoom really was doing well for us.
That's great.
All right, if you go to Zoom or go to Google and find the Zoom homepage, and it's been so long since I did it, you have to download an application app that you use with your browser. And it's pretty easy to do. Once you get that on, you do the login. And for the login, you, oh, by the way, someone just said Zoom with a limit. All academic Zoom accounts have no limit. So if you're going to go 2 or 3 hours, that's okay now. But anyways, you put your COD email address in where it asks for your email, and then you have to create a password. And once you get in, at least the way it was when I did it, I'm sure the same way, you will be able to see a screen and it's your information. And then after that, you can put in different things. And there's this on the left, there's a menu, and one of them is meetings, and then you set up a Zoom meeting. If you have any problems with that, let me know. whitek@cod.edu, and I'll help you out. Or Learning Services will help you out, or try IT Help. One of those will help you out. You're welcome, Eric. Oh, the one thing I didn't mention that's important when giving a Zoom lecture, make sure you have something to drink, because you'll be talking a lot. But then you also have that, and at least I do, not tea, but usually I have water in the lecture room at COD.
It's true. I find I talk a lot more when I'm doing a virtual session than I do face-to-face, which is too bad.
I found that out, and then I realized what I should be doing that I wasn't doing that I do in a classroom. Once I got my whiteboard, the tablet, I could do that is when I explain something, I give a problem, then I give a practice problem for students to try out. And at first in Zoom, I wasn't doing that. And once I realized I should do that, you talk less.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if it's psychological or whatever, but I felt, and I've gotten over that, you're in front of a camera. I've got to keep on talking. And the answer is no, you don't.
You don't.
Silence works too.
See, we got a question from Judy. How are you integrating your tablet and computer in Zoom?
All right. The way I do it, and it works, and if you want to see, well, you saw how well I did in the video, is on my computer, I have set up, the tablet is on, I have a Word document open that's blank. I actually have a file name for it, whiteboard. And it has about 10 blank pages, and I have it set the cursor first page. And what you do in Zoom at the bottom or wherever you keep your toolbar, you can change that. You can share from your video to any file or feed. And I click on to do the whiteboard, the one when you saw me in the video, I clicked on that screen in the share interface. That was my Word document. That was the video, that was the tablet. And you just write on the tablet. Now, important thing I learned from practicing, when you're using one of those tablets, don't look at the tablet to see what you're writing. It won't work. Watch your screen and where the little arrow is, where you have it, and that way you'll be able to do that.
Ari, no, you don't need to sign in with SSO. Just
Your email address.
Create a new account.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ken?
Because once you go to Zoom and you get the hang of it, you'll see it works real well. And I guess the proof is in the pudding. And I had a class this semester, general chemistry, and I ended up with all 24 students who started, and I had 22 A's, 2 B's. Now, I've done that before in the summer in the classroom at COD, same thing. So whatever I did online worked, and the students got back to me. And if you don't believe me, go to ratemyprofessor.com and see what they said about me. No, I didn't use the polling. What I did do was I did the emoji. Do you understand what I'm talking about and things like that? And also, when I teach, which I didn't talk about today, the first thing I teach my students is, in my classroom, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And students would ask questions during the lecture, either with audio, if they had a mic hooked up, or typing into chat. Other questions?
Oh, Ari has her hand up.
Oh, hi. I think I might have figured it out. My problem is that I have a couple of Zoom accounts running already, so it's getting confusing. And so when I say, so basically I would sign up again, but as my COD address. And is that going to take me, now it's taking me to like confirming your birthday and all that kind of stuff. Does that sound like I'm on the right track there? Okay.
Yeah, because I have 2 Zoom accounts, one through ECC, which I have a separate direct, on your browser, what do you call it? I've got a mind freeze, not now. Where you have a bookmark, and I also have a separate bookmark for my COD sign in.
I see.
And that way,
Yeah.
that way, however it is set up, it works.
Okay, I think I'm on the right track now because we sent an email with a confirm link and all that kind of good stuff. So I was just having trouble because I have an account. I'm using a desktop version of the app, and I have an account through a music store, and then one that has that time limit, like I said, that's just a personal account. And so, I was just concerned about getting it properly associated to get that full time, like you said. But I think it's working. Thank you so much.
Great. Be sure to use your academic account because last April, and it's still in force, Zoom took off all time limits on those accounts. We're normally, 30 minutes or an hour time limit?
Mm-hmm.
And
right, that's why I wanted to make sure it's...
Last April, I did one Zoom meeting that went 3.5 hours. We took breaks. That was another thing I didn't put in, but just like in the classroom, after about 50 minutes, I found a person's brain shuts down if they've been sitting that long. So I take breaks, and students do too in my class, or Zoom too. And I'll say, all right, we're going to take a 5-minute break because I get up and stretch because, after 55 minutes of sitting, I'm old enough, I need to get up and stretch.
So actually, since you're still on here, and I know you're not tech support, but I appreciate this a lot. The email says the domain associated with the address has been claimed by College of DuPage. Please consolidate it into existing accounts or sign up with a new email. So it's okay to consolidate, correct?
I don't know. I never saw that. So I can't.
I know, it's so weird.
Yes, you go ahead and consolidate that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I've been nervous about that
no worries.
Nice thing about computers, unless your computer catches fire, just about anything you do, you can always undo. I found that out. I've been a power user in computers for many years now.
Yes, that is, but it's not always easy to undo it.
That's true too, but that's why you have set points if you're doing a PC.
Oh, yes.
I'll now be famous or infamous about my Animal House story.
And it's been recorded too.
Oh my gosh.
We can take that out of the recording.
Don't.
I enjoyed the anecdote.
As long as I don't see my picture in the post office.
Oh, thank you so much, Ken. Any other questions?
You're welcome. Wow, it was well attended.
I guess I'm still here with my last question here. So now, excellent. Time to start your meeting. Personal meeting URL. So is that? I don't know. Let me see if I can log out on the laptop here.
Hold on. Back up. What are you trying to accomplish?
I was just trying to set up an account, and then I clicked that consolidate button, and I'm not sure what's happening. So let me just try to sign in with this.
Are you in a screen where it has the Zoom interface in the upper right-hand corner? Is there a phone number there? For Zoom help?
It is working now. I went back and forth. I went to the phone to check the email, and then it took me down a strange-looking path. But then when I'm back to the computer and logged on through COD, it does seem to be working. So I appreciate the extra time you just took with me to get that working.
Well, like I say, there's no such thing as dumb question. The other thing I try and always be is patient with anybody who needs my help.
I
appreciate that a lot.
I have a question, and I apologize that I joined late. I was at another session and it ended early, so I wanted to join here. My question is that I've been using Zoom all summer long for college meetings and for different COD classes, etc. And last night and today, when I was on with one-to-one meetings with two other faculty members, that they couldn't hear me. They said that my voice was going in and out, and yet I was the same proximity from the laptop, etc. And so I'm concerned about that because I'm going to be doing VCM with my students.
All right, now, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, wherever your toolbar is, there's a way to test your microphone. And it will record it and play it back to you over your speakers when you do that test. And it could be you have a faulty webcam mic, or the other thing which I found in computers in general is your webcam directly connected to your computer?
Yes, it's actually a COD laptop.
I don't have a COD laptop. Is the webcam part of the computer?
Yes.
Have you tried moving? Is it moving the screen part back and forth? Does that change anything? Because it could be a loose connection there.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I don't know how to do that test that you were talking about with respect to the microphone. That would be an interesting thing to be able to try and do as well.
If you go on to Zoom and
the microphone test will be within Zoom?
it's in Zoom when you're actually in the meeting. You can look where you have, and where I keep my Zoom toolbars in the lower part of my screen. In the lower left-hand part of that, there's a place for video, and I think there's one for audio. Or when you first log on, you can test the Zoom.
Okay.